I'm just going to do a little bit of this. What I thought I'd do today is I'm going to do a sort of landscape demo through the window from here. I was going to drag you all outside, but I can see you don't want to go out. But if anybody does, there's a lovely, lovely bit of shade just under their trees. Alternatively, we could go in churchyard, the shade there. You can see her. So I brought some paintings from my trip. I thought I'd just show you what I did last week. So I went to Stoke last week with London Plein Air painters. There's about 40 of us went up to Stoke. And these are the paintings we did. This was the first day. We started a bit early, some friends of mine, and did this one in a little farm. So that was that one. The next one we did was, next day we went to this place, Gladstone Pottery, which is a bit. So yeah, if any of you ever watched this Great Pottery Throwdown, that's where that's filmed. We got permission to go and paint there. They were closed that day, but they just opened up for us for educational visits. So we all painted there that day. This was another pottery called Middleport Pottery. So some of us painted this was the pottery itself, some people painted inside. I quite fancied the canal view, so give that painting. The third day we went to a abandoned disused colliery called Chapel Whitfield. So we had a great opportunity to paint in somewhere that really just wouldn't have had a chance to paint. We all had to wear hard hats, so it was actually, a lot of it was sort of fenced off, because a lot of the structures, this structure here was actually kind of gradually sinking because of all the ground so kind of heavy. So that was a really fascinating place to paint. Then over here, just swing this back around here, we've got, so it was the summer solstice during our visit. So there's a place in the Midlands called Malcott, and I used to live in the Midlands, and we used to be able to see this from where we lived in our bungalow, high up. So a couple of years ago, when I went up to Stoke, I thought I'd be really interested to see what it's like. It's just, really high up, fabulous views across Wales, and one of the chaps, Rob Poynton, who lives up there and sorted a lot of these venues out for us. He fancied painting the summer solstice because it was his birthday on the summer solstice. So we were up there at 4 o'clock in the morning, and these were very quick paintings. That one, and this one, all kind of before breakfast sort of paintings. And then had a little rest and came back, and that was really the last painting I did. A little view across now a couple of cottages. So
just thought I'd share all those with you. So hopefully inspire you to kind of do, keep working every summer. Sorry? Yeah, they dry pretty quick. They're all oils to dry quick. Yeah, these ones I didn't put a lot of oil with them. They're just solvent, I think, just to say the bits that are not going to dry are probably white. But yeah, this is a few days ago. Yeah, so that's my visit. We've got the art. I'll hopefully get a couple of these into the art trail. I've got a couple of frames that'll fit some of these. Hope it'd be great to see some of you over the art trail. I will be there the 2 Saturdays. So we've got would anybody like a map? So we've got the map of the trail. Yeah. So I'll give some of these out. Yeah. I've got one of these. And it starts on, I think it's the 6th. So I'll be there the 2 Saturdays of the trail. Go on. So it'd be really lovely. I'll probably have about 20 hours. Where are you? I'm at Millie Selly. Let's get some more out.
So yeah, I think they're open sort of like 10 to 3 at least. So plenty more there for anybody else. And I've got probably about between 20 and 30 paintings ready to go in, so it's whatever I can fit in there. So it's a nice little venue, you can get nice food there or coffee, or just wander in, have a look around, and wander out again.
Can you get out?
You can get out when you're ready. They don't keep you there. The actual deli bit is where I show my work, and then out the back there's a nice cafe area in the garden, so if you want to grab a coffee or something or get a meal. But equally, they're happy for people to wander in and out, just have a look at the trail. So yeah, I usually stand or sit outside on the front pavement and paint whatever view I can find, paint something going by, because it's quite a small deli, I don't want to clutter them up too much, but I'll be there for 2 Saturdays. Right, okay, so I'll do just a very quick demo, just to try and give you a heads up how I work. So I was just thinking, there's a nice tree out there, and there are lovely trees and dappled light, and I'd be quite happy to paint that actually. I think there's quite nice views in there. You can either go straight in with paint. There's different ways I tend to approach paintings. I've seen somebody use pencil recently, so this is just an ordinary graphite pencil, and actually that's fairly smooth. That goes on quite easily. That might be, if you want to plan things out a little bit. I don't know if it would wash out with water. I'll have to try that. So that's one way of working. Pastel pencils are what I tend to prefer, because I find them easier to move, whereas that does seem to come off quite easily actually. So one way or the other you could do that. Another way is using a pen, but I use the water-soluble pens. I wouldn't use anything that's like a permanent marker for obvious reasons. It's not going to come off, and it's probably going to show through the paint. So this is a water-soluble pencil. I'll show you the pen, Tombow pen. So they're like that. I should be able to just wash that out. Yes, that will come out. So I wouldn't really normally use such a dark mark as this, but so that you can see what I'm drawing. I quite like these, and it's just got quite a nice mark. So I'm using the brush end. If you've got a lot of detail, you could use the smaller end. You get a smaller, thinner line with that. So that's how we start. Or just start out with paint. Right. So what I quite often do is just sketch with the paint itself. Make it very, very thin, like a watercolour wash, and then you can just kind of. It's sort of as quick as anything to pop down, and it's very easy to adjust and move around. So that's quite nice. Something like the trees, I suppose when I'm painting outdoors, it's quite hard to think what to do first. I think the way I tend to think about it is layers of paint marks. So I'm thinking out there there's a tree with some rather backlit leaves, very, very light leaves. So I think I probably want to pop some of those in first. So I'm just going to mix a very light green using some of the yellows. Now once the paint is down, I might thin it a tiny bit, but I don't want it to be too thin. I want to get a good coverage. So that can be perhaps some lighter. And actually I'm going to add a tiny bit, because this board is quite dark grey. It's a little bit too dark for the subject. Probably a lighter board might be better for something like that. So I'll add a little bit of white. Just get a feeling of those sort of backlit leaves. Perhaps a couple over here. I can also see a little bit of the building beyond. So what's that? I'll just get another one. So some white, and just make a kind of greyish tone out of the blue and the brown. So in a few areas, a bit darker than that. Having a mid-tone board is quite nice for trying to judge and evaluate the tone. Because if this was all white, so the advantage of this is it's in the middle, so the light bits will stand out, but also for dark bits, they'll stand out. So it's more of like an average of what I can see. So there are some little bits of grey from the building beyond.
and that's actually just blending in with the tone that's there, so I don't need to worry too much about that. After that, I would then go with the greens, the sort of darker greens, or the mid-tone greens, I think. Just wash that out. So, a little bit of cadmium yellow and a couple of the different blues I've got here. And just sort of kind of work those in anywhere. I'm going to work over some of the lighter bits and just let some of that feed through. You can work through those branches there. I do try and use as big a brush as I can. So the smaller brushes I find are useful for little details at the end. So I might see the odd leaf here and there towards the end, but at the moment, I think this would be absolutely fine. And this bit is going to be the trunk of the tree. A few greens coming across here. And just go a little bit darker still. So a little bit of brown added here to green now. So blue, yellow and brown. Get a nice dark green. Anyway, we've got some sort of deeper shadows. Enough, and then some browns and greys for the tree trunk. And if you want to have a look at the end from here to there, you can see what I'm actually painting. So some brown and a little bit of blue, just grey that down a little bit. There's quite a strong shadows there. And then one or two of the branches are a little bit darker. So if I'm careful not to make this paint too thick, so basically it's the paint out the tube but just scrubbed into the board, and then I can usually get some other colours to go over the top of that. Something like that, maybe a few branches here. Get that to work without picking up too much of the greens. Then I'll just lighten that up a little bit. A bit more brown, and that can be over here. Perhaps a bit darker. It's got a little bit darker. So this is where I get to sort of see, actually, you know, maybe this is a bit lighter, this is a bit darker. You kind of really start to evaluate tones and make the necessary adjustments. I can't really see too much dappled light, but there's a tiny bit. I always think they're nice to just kind of get those little flecks of light coming through on the tree trunks. So sort of making that up a little bit, but that's quite a nice feature. I just want to go a tiny bit lighter with the greens here, just to get that side of the tree trunk to stand out a little bit. So, is that enough? So you don't, I mean, you could do, if you wanted to practice over the summer, if any of you got gardens, and you sit inside, look out towards the garden, or if you want to venture out or into the sunshade.
When you do that, you've got a frame there, you've got the window frame.
Yeah.
When you're doing something like those, do you start in the middle and then work out and then decide where it's going to end, or?
I quite often do this sort of thing. Or I've got a little viewfinder.
So you have an idea when you start?
Yeah, how much of it clue. This one, I decided to work quite big because I knew it was going to be, we'd be quite close up to the buildings.
Right.
And I'm quite light wide views, so I quite like to include quite a bit.
Yeah.
So if I'd gone on a small board, I would have had to squash everything down. That's really hard work. So in a way, it's easier to work bigger. With this one, I started by, I think I just sketched out these two buildings and then just checked that everything that I wanted in was going to fit with the size. So that's how I started that one. the coal mine, I knew we only had a few hours to paint that, and it's quite a complicated structure. So what I did with this one is I just scrubbed in some colour in the sky, quite thinly, but also not too wet, just so that it was on there, it absorbed into the board, and then I could paint all this on. So I sort of started, I think I started up here and worked my way down through the structure, and just basically painted it to with that one, just almost like drawing it as I went. I didn't really have an underdrawing. It was just like the marks were there, just had to be in the right place, you know, at the time. This one, yeah, I decided on the wider format. I took a few different boards with me, but I was going to just paint that bit on a board that sort of size. But I thought it just seemed a bit odd not to have the front of the boat in and just have that bit. So I decided to go wider and have this nice sweep of the canal. So I just thought it suited that. So again, it was kind of carefully planning out all the relative sizes of the buildings. There's quite a bit of drawing. I really took the time over the drawing. I can't remember quite how I did it really, but it's probably either one of these pens or something like that, or just thin paint. Then these others, particularly these ones, these were painted. That was probably like really quickly. It's a very quick sketch. It's about half an hour. I really like the feel of it, but I think the composition isn't great. I think this was a tiny bit wider than I painted it because I ran out of space. And here, I think it could have done with a bit more space here. So it's a sort of project I'd like to have another go at from from this and from the photos I took at the time. So that could be a sketch towards a bigger one. So yeah, but with this one, I think what I do, I think I started with the sky. I think all these colours. I just had a rough idea of where that shape would be. So I've got some of the colours in here, and I did some colour here, and then the lighting changed quite a bit, and so that was before the sun had actually come up. When the sun started to come up, so I started painting that one, and then once I got to that stage, or most of that down, I then went back to that and just darkened that and just sketched in the structure of this. And actually by this time, a little bit of light was catching the side, which was quite nice to include. So these two are kind of painted together. Yeah, I'll do both of them. They're sort of things I find very difficult to paint, so it's quite nice to keep practicing that sort of thing. Is that okay? So when we come back in September, pretty sure the project is flowers or Christmas cards with liner printing. So we can do either printing or flowers, or I can do flowers and printing. But you know, they're the two options that we can have, or the ground I'll cover. So if you fancy printmaking, I've still got quite a few printmaking bits. So some of it, if you haven't got it already, I can provide. Well, this is it, and then people have donated bits to me. So I've got various, and I might be able to, if I can get hold of some, I might be able to borrow some printmaking stuff as well. It depends where I've got access to other people's equipment. If I have, I'll borrow some stuff. But that could be quite fun, a bit of a change, a bit of printmaking. And that would gear us up if you want to print your own Christmas cards, you've got plenty of time to do it. Does that all sound alright? But equally, if you just wanted to do foul painting, you can do that. Sorry?
I can try it.
Well, that's it, yeah. Give it a go, that's the way to go. Just try things out, see how you get on. Okay, right, come around and see you.